Let's bring in now retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, Senior Fellow at Defense Priorities, as well as host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive. Colonel, always great to speak with you. I'd like to talk about those attacks on U.S. forces in just a moment, but first I want to go back to Robert's report. Israel saying it's going to take months to destroy Hamas. The U.S. is trying to encourage the IDF scale back fighting. Do you think both of these things can exist at the same time? Can that happen?
Well, I mean, it's all a political decision on what you want the military to do. And the two things that they're talking about, one, what they have been doing, and the second one, what Sullivan's saying he wants them to go to, are very different types of military operations. And really, I was a little bit concerned when Sullivan's saying that he wants them to move towards an intelligence-based operation, because that implies that they're not right now, which kind of matches what you see on the ground with this latest report out that like up to 40-something% of all the bombs that have been used by Israel have been the unguided type, which is an area weapon which will just destroy infrastructure on the ground and is not targeted at all. And that, of course, is why you have so many civilian casualties. And look, the president is right that Israel risks losing Western support and American support. It's already gaining traction in Europe, and it could continue to go here if the casualties keep on staying at their same high rate, because that's not in America's interest. It's certainly not following the laws of warfare, where you have to be discriminate in your use of force. And I think that Israel takes a big risk by not going to that right now and continuing on with this large-scale operation.
And I do want to talk about the support and potentially losing the support from the U.S. in a moment. But, now I do want to talk about the attacks on U.S. forces. There have been nearly 100 of them in the Middle East since October 7th. Colonel, do you think it's really just a matter of time before we see U.S. casualties as a result?
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, I've been beating those drums for literally years. We need to get our troops out of there because they're nothing but a point of vulnerability, and they don't do anything for our national security. They don't keep us safe. So the question has to be, why do we keep them there? And I know that nobody wants to move them out under the impression that we're forced out, et cetera. But look, if this makes sense to us to redeploy our soldiers into places where they're more defensible, where we can still take care of all our responsibilities in the region, that makes sense. And then we take away from Iran the opportunity to send their rebels that are backed by them to even attack us. If you take us out of the way, then they can't even threaten us. But unfortunately, we're sticking to a point now to where we're just waiting for that day to happen. And look, these strikes that we've had in there, the so-called messages and deterrence have had no impact whatsoever, and it's not going to. And then if an American is killed, then the pressure will be way high to do much more, and probably in Iran.
Absolutely. And we're seeing now at least one shipping company is saying that it is pausing all shipments through the Red Sea. What are your thoughts about the danger of the situation there? I mean, we are starting to see these ripple effects.
Right, and that's the big concern with the issue in the Red Sea, is that the Houthi rebels claim that this is against Israeli shipping, but it's clear that they're just wanting to impact the economics of it. So they're shooting at who knows what, probably any target that they can reach at. And it's going to have a natural effect on anybody else wanting to come in, because one of the biggest costs in shipping is insurance. And if companies can't guarantee that the ships are going to go through and that the products will get there on time, then they're not going to take that risk, because they can't go through without insurance. And then that can have ripple effects to other types of commerce not going through that very important waterway. And the problem is, whether this task force or not, you have a risk of escalating the war, because so far we haven't actually attacked any of the launch sites in Yemen. And the day you do that, then you're inserting yourself into an additional potential conflict, and then they may even escalate up further like that. So it's a big risk, and right now there's no easy answers for it. Frankly.
Yeah, and looking at the video, it truly is terrifying there. Lieutenant Colonel, so there was this talk of potentially bringing back Palestinian security forces in Gaza once the fighting has stopped, or at least maybe slowed. But we know that this is something Israel is not likely to support. Do you think that is a viable option?
Look, right now, Israel's not taking advice from anybody. They're not, whether Sullivan, President Biden, Secretary of Defense Austin, they're doing what they want to do right now. And unfortunately, they're pursuing a strategy that I don't think can work, because look, at the heart of this, they say they're trying to destroy Hamas. But frankly, How do they know? How do they know how many Hamas people they're killing? Because they're not wearing uniforms. There's no list of them. And if you're just shooting every man in Palestine that is, has a weapon that you see, then you don't know if you're just killing any of the 800,000 or so men there who are just angry because their houses have been destroyed and their families have been shot. And you can see that you'll never know if you destroy it all. And then you have the risk of, do you go after every man there? It's just unsustainable. But Israel is not, so far, very adamant that they're not willing to let anybody else come in there, not Hamas, not the Palestinian Authority, and no one else has even been identified as a possibility. So right now, that's not even on the table.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.